If you're listening to this story, then please remember one thing. If you ever come across a file on your computer called last_recording MP4, don't open it, because I made that mistake. And after that, my life has never been the same. My name is Ryan Carter. I'm recording all of this because I don't know how long I'll be alive. I might not be alive by the time you're listening to this. It all started on the night of October 14th, 2023, at around 3:17 a.m. That's when most people are asleep, but there are some things that wake you up at that very moment. It was raining heavily outside that night. My apartment was completely silent, just the sound of the rain and the occasional distant thunderclap. I was working on my laptop when my phone suddenly rang. The name on the screen was Mark Sullivan. My heart stopped for a moment, because Mark had been missing for 2 days. The police were looking for him. His phone, wallet, everything was lying in his apartment. But Mark himself was missing. I immediately picked up the phone. But it wasn't a call, just a message. Just 3 words. Don't open it. That's it. No explanation. No emoji. Nothing else. Just that. At first I thought maybe Mark was back and playing a joke. But then a strange chill ran through my body. Because Mark never plays jokes like that. And especially when he's missing. I called him right away. Phone off. Called again. Then closed. At that moment, an email notification came on my laptop. Sender: Mark Sullivan. Subject: if something happens to me. My breath caught. My hands started shaking slowly. I opened the email. It had only one line written in it. Ryan, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't stop it. There was an attachment below. Last_recording MP4. Mark's message started echoing in my mind. Don't open it. I stared at this file for about 10 minutes. My heart was saying, don't open it. But curiosity is the most dangerous human weakness. Finally, I clicked on the video. The video started. The camera was shaking, as if Mark had set it up in a hurry. Then Mark came on the screen. But he didn't look like Mark. His face was pale. His eyes were red. And he kept looking behind him, as if someone was in his room. Mark said softly, Ryan, if you're watching this video, it means I couldn't stop it in time. He was silent for a few seconds. Then he said, 2 days ago, I found a strange server on the Deep Web, an archive database, where there were thousands of videos. Mark's hands were shaking. He brought the camera closer to him, but one folder was different from the rest. He said softly, Watchers. Ryan. I opened that folder. It had videos that no one should see. Mark's voice was breaking, but the real problem wasn't. He stopped suddenly. Then he said softly, Ryan, there were some people in those videos who were looking at the camera. I shook my head. That was normal. But then Mark said the next thing, something that made my blood run cold. Mark whispered, they weren't looking at the camera. He slowly looked behind him. Then he said, they were looking at me. The video suddenly started to glitch. White lines started to appear on the screen. Mark started to speak quickly. Ryan, if you've opened this video, it's probably too late. Those people aren't in the videos. The video suddenly stopped. The screen went black. Then an image appeared. A dark room. A tall man stood in the middle of the room. His face was completely in shadow, but his neck was bent beyond human limits, as if he was looking at someone. I kept staring at the picture. Then suddenly, I realized the man was looking at the door, and at that moment, there was a gentle knock on my apartment door. Tick. A few seconds of silence. Then again. Tick, tick. My heart started pounding in my chest, because at that moment, it was 3:42 a.m., and I was alone in this apartment. Then a whisper came from the other side of the door, so softly, as if someone was speaking right next to my ear. Ryan. A few seconds of silence. Then the voice came again, and this time he said the words that froze my soul. I know you watched the file. That voice came from outside my apartment door. Ryan, I know you watched the file. My hands went cold. My breath caught in my throat. The room was so quiet that I could hear my own heartbeat clearly. Knock, knock, knock. I slowly walked towards the door. With each step, the same question was running through my mind. If Mark is outside, then where has he been for 2 days? And if Mark isn't outside, then who is it? I stopped as I approached the door. I could see a faint shadowy movement from under the door. Someone was really standing outside, but the movement was strange, as if the person wasn't standing straight. Rather, he was leaning. Suddenly, there was another knock on the door, this time a little louder. Tick, 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 then the same sound. But now she sounded even stranger, like someone was imitating a human voice. Ryan opened the door. A chill ran through my entire body, because that voice was like Mark's, but not quite. Like someone was trying to remember Mark's voice. I plucked up the courage to look out the peephole in the door, and what I saw, it sent a chill down my spine. Mark was indeed standing outside the door, but something was wrong. Very wrong. Mark's face was down. His hair was soaked. His clothes were covered in mud, and he was standing at an odd angle, as if his bones weren't working properly. Then slowly he raised his head. I was watching through the peephole, but suddenly Mark's eyes lifted straight to the peephole, as if he knew I was watching him. And he smiled softly, but that smile wasn't human. Then he came very close to the door and whispered, "Ryan, they are watching." The video immediately started echoing in my mind. Watchers, the people in the videos, who were watching behind Mark. I reached out to open the door, but at that moment I remembered something else. What Mark said in the video. If you've opened this video, it's probably too late. My hand stopped. There was silence on the other side of the door. No sound. No movement. I looked through the peephole again, and this time, no one was there. My body felt as if life had left it. I immediately backed away. This is all my imagination, I told myself. Mark must have come back, then left. But then, a strange sound came from my laptop. I turned around and looked. My laptop had automatically turned on. The same video was playing on the screen again, even though I had turned it off. In the video, Mark was breathing rapidly, and this time he looked more scared than before. Ryan, if you're watching this, it means they've reached you. My breath caught. Mark's eyes were looking at something behind the camera. They always do that. He whispered, "First they see you, then they learn your voice, then your appearance." A thrill ran through my body, because the one outside the door, he looked like Mark, but not completely. Mark was almost crying in the video. "Ryan, if you ever see me outside the door." He stopped. He came closer to the camera and said softly, "Then don't open the door." At that moment, a sound came from inside my apartment, from my bedroom. Chirr, as if the door was slowly opening. My heart pounded like an explosion in my chest. Because I live alone in this apartment. I slowly walked towards the bedroom. The room was completely dark. The door was actually slightly ajar. I pushed the door open, and as I stepped inside, Mark screamed in the video on my laptop, "Ryan, run." At that moment, a long object started moving from the darkness in the corner of my bedroom. Something that was taller than a human, and was slowly standing up straight. Then he turned his head towards me, and for the first time I saw his face. It was Mark, but his eyes were completely black, and slowly the same words came out of his mouth that made my blood run cold. "Ryan, why didn't you open the door?" In the dark corner of my bedroom stood the thing, and its face was like Mark's, but only from above, like someone had copied a human face incorrectly. Its eyes were completely black. There was no trace of white in them, and its mouth was slowly opening to an unusual extent, like there were no bones in its jaw. It tilted its head slightly. Then the same voice came out, but now it sounded more broken than before. "Ryan, why didn't you open the door?" My body automatically took a step back. My heart was beating so fast that it was hard to breathe. At that moment, Mark's voice echoed again from my laptop. The video was still playing. "Ryan, if they come inside your house." Mark's voice was trembling. "So you know they've chosen you." I slowly looked towards the corner of the bedroom. The thing was still standing there. but its body was moving, as if it was breathing.
Or changing.
Then suddenly it took a step forward. Its feet scraped the floor with a strange sound. Crap, as if its bones were out of place. I immediately turned and ran out of the bedroom. There was only one thought in my mind. This is not Mark. This is something else. I immediately opened the main door of the apartment and tried to run out. But as soon as I opened the door, my breath stopped. Because in the hallway, 4 people were standing. All 4 of them had faces in the dark. But they were all looking in the same direction, toward my door. One of them slowly raised its head. And at that moment, I understood what had frightened Mark. His eyes were not human. They were exactly as black as the one standing in my bedroom. My legs became weak. I immediately closed the door and went back inside. I had only one question in my heart. How did they all get to my apartment? At that moment, I heard slow footsteps behind me. Tap, tap, tap. I turned slowly. The thing that looked like Mark had now left the bedroom and entered the hall. But now its body was changing. Its hands were growing unusually long. Its fingers had become thin and pointed, and its mouth had now opened so much that it almost reached his ears. Then he made a sound that was neither human nor animal. A strange growl. Then he said softly, "They told me about you." I was backing away. My hands hit the table, and suddenly my eyes fell back on the laptop. The video was still playing. Mark was writing something quickly. Then he looked at the camera. "Ryan, if they get to you."
He was gasping.
So remember one thing. They always come via video. A flash of lightning flashed through my mind.
Video. File.
Last_recording to MP4. I immediately ran to the laptop. But before I could do anything, the thing suddenly came right behind me, so fast, I didn't even notice it moving. His long fingers gently rested on my shoulder. The fingers were as cold as ice. Then he whispered softly, "Ryan." I slowly turned around, and for the first time, I saw his face up close. He really did look like Mark, but his skin, like a dead person's. Then he smiled softly. "You watched us." A few seconds of silence. Then he said the sentence that made my mind reel. "Now we can watch you." At that moment, my laptop automatically shut down. The room was plunged into complete darkness. And in the darkness, I could only see one thing. That creature. And behind it, more shadows. As if there was not just one, but many watchers in the room now. My apartment was plunged into complete darkness. The laptop had shut down. The lights had automatically turned off. And there was only one thing in the room, the sound of breathing. But the problem was, those breathings weren't just mine. I slowly started to back away. In front of me stood the creature, who looked like Mark. But now his body had become even more strange than before. His neck was getting longer, as if someone was pulling a bone from inside. And behind him, more shadows were moving in the darkness. Watchers. Now I was sure. They weren't just inside the video. They were here. Suddenly my laptop screen lit up again. Even though I hadn't even touched it, the same video started playing on the screen again. But this time something was different. There was no Mark in the video. Rather, I could see my own apartment. My breath caught. The camera was positioned exactly as it was in my room, and I could see myself on the screen. Me. And that creature standing behind me. My hands started shaking. This was live video, but I hadn't turned on any camera. At that moment, another thing appeared in the video. There wasn't just one creature behind me. Rather, there were 6 shadows. They were all tall, thin, and inhuman-looking. And they were all looking at the same thing.
Me.
Then a new text appeared on the laptop screen. In white letters. New subject detected. A jolt of electricity ran through my body. After that, another line appeared. Observation started. At that moment, the creature standing behind me whispered softly, "They like you." I turned around immediately, but as soon as I looked into her eyes, I realized she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at something else behind me. I turned slowly. A dark shadow was forming on the wall of my apartment. At first it was small, then it slowly started to grow, as if something was trying to get out from inside the wall. Then suddenly there was a crack in the wall.
Crack.
I backed away in fear. It was completely dark inside the crack, but in that darkness, dozens of eyes were shining. They were all looking at me. Each eye was black, just like Mark's. Then a voice came, but it wasn't coming from one place. That voice, it was coming from all directions, as if the walls of the room were speaking. The voice said softly, "You watched the file." A few seconds of silence. Then the same voice came again. "Now, you belong to the archive." Mark's words began to echo in my mind. They always come via video. I immediately ran to the laptop. A strange interface had now opened on the screen, just like some secret server. Above it was written, "Watcher's Archive," and below, hundreds of videos. Below each video was a name
And a date.
I clicked on the first video. In the video, a man was sitting in his room, just like me. He was using a laptop. Then suddenly a shadow appeared behind him, and the video ended there. Below it was his name, Daniel Brooks, 2018. I opened the second video, then the third, then the fourth. In each video, it was the same story. Someone opens a file, then the watchers start watching it, and finally, that person disappears. My breathing quickens, because a new video appeared at the end of the list. It had just been added. The name written under this video. My blood froze when I saw it. It read, Ryan Carter, 2023. At that moment, the creature standing behind me whispered softly, "Your file has been created." And then, all the walls in my apartment started to crack at once. Crack, 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 as if all those things behind the walls were about to come out. Cracks had begun to appear in the walls of my apartment. Crack, 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 as if something was pushing from within. Behind each crack was darkness. But in that darkness, there were eyes. Not dozens, maybe hundreds. Everyone was looking at me. My mind was now working faster. It all started with one thing. That file. Last_recording to MP4. I immediately sat down in front of my laptop. Watcher's Archive was still open on the screen. Hundreds of videos. Hundreds of people. And each video ended the same way. Disappearing.
But suddenly I noticed something.
One video in the list was different from the others. It had a red mark next to it, and a name was written on it. Mark Sullivan. My hands started to shake. I immediately clicked on the video. The video started. The camera was in Mark's apartment. The same room where Mark lived. Mark appeared on the screen. He looked very scared. His hands were shaking. "If someone is watching this video," Mark said, "then that means the watchers are watching you now too." My heart beat faster. Mark approached the camera and said slowly, "I opened that folder. Watchers." But it wasn't just a folder of videos. Mark pointed to his laptop screen. "That's a door." My breath caught. There was pure fear in Mark's eyes. Every video is a window through which they watch us. Then Mark said the thing that shook my mind. "Ryan, watchers aren't actually creatures." He spoke slowly. "They're a place." Mark pointed to the wall in the video. "They come from a place that's right next to our world. But we can't see it unless we invite them." A chill ran through my body. "Invitation?" Mark tilted his head. Then he whispered, "And we invite them when we watch their videos." My hands began to shake uncontrollably, because I had seen that video. At that moment, something moved behind Mark in the video. A long shadow began to emerge from the wall, exactly like what was happening in my apartment right now. Mark looked back. Fear grew in his eyes. "They're coming," Mark whispered. "When they start watching someone, they don't stop." Then he said the last thing. "Ryan, if you're watching this video," he moved closer to the camera, "so understand, they've chosen you too." At that moment, the video abruptly ended. The screen went black. But the next moment, a new thing appeared on the screen. A live camera. My own apartment. I was watching myself on the screen. I was sitting in front of my laptop. And behind me, now there was not just one, but 10 watchers. Their bodies were tall and thin. Their faces were in the dark, but their eyes, like black voids. Then one of them stepped forward, and for the first time he spoke in a clear voice. "Ryan Carter." My heart almost stopped. The creature spoke softly. "Your observation is almost complete." Then he said the thing that destroyed the last hope in me. "Soon you will join the archive." At that moment, the wall of my apartment completely collapsed, and behind it, a dark world appeared, a place where hundreds of shadows were moving, and they were all watching me. The wall of my apartment had now completely collapsed. Behind it was another world, a world where light was almost non-existent, just a deep, endless darkness. And within that darkness, hundreds of long shadows were moving. They were all looking in the same direction.
At me.
The creature standing behind me slowly moved forward. Its long hands were almost touching the floor. Then it whispered, "The archive is waiting." My breathing quickened. I had only two options now. Either I would try to escape, or else they would take me into this dark world. At that moment, something from Mark's video echoed in my mind. They always come via video. Video.
File.
Server. I immediately ran to my laptop. The Watcher's archive was still open on the screen, but now a new option had appeared in it. Upload. My heart stopped beating. This option was not there before. I immediately clicked on it. A blank window opened. Above it was written, "Add a new recording." At that moment, a dangerous thought occurred to me. If the Watchers come via video, then maybe
they can be sent back via video too.
I immediately turned on my laptop's camera. I started recording. The creature standing behind me was now a few steps away. Its long fingers were slowly moving towards me. I looked at the camera and said, "If anyone is watching this video," my voice was trembling. "So, remember." I slowly rotated the laptop so that the camera could show the creature standing behind me. They all stopped, as if they didn't like it. Then one of them moved quickly. His body moved towards me within human speed. I immediately stopped recording and uploaded the video. It appeared once on the screen. Uploading to the archive. The creature standing behind me suddenly stopped, as if they understood something. Then they all turned their dark eyes to the laptop screen at the same time. The upload on the screen had been completed. File added successfully. But the next moment, something happened that I didn't expect. A new line appeared on the screen. "Your recording has been accepted." My heart stopped beating. Then the second line appeared. "But every archive needs its subject." My hands went cold. The third line appeared. "Congratulations." A few seconds of silence. Then the final words appeared. "Ryan Carter, your observation is complete." At that moment, all the creatures standing behind me began to move together. Their long shadows spread across the walls. And then, they whispered together, "Welcome to the archive." The next moment, the floor disappeared from under me, and I began to fall straight into this dark world, down, where thousands of shadows were moving. And the last thing I saw before falling was my laptop. A new video had appeared on its screen. The name was Ryan Carter, Final Recording. I was falling down. It was completely dark all around. No ground was visible. No light. Just a strange echo, like thousands of whispers speaking at once. Then suddenly, I fell to the ground. But that ground was not like ordinary ground. It was like a cold, damp surface. Like old walls or the bricks of a tomb. I slowly opened my eyes. There was complete darkness around me. But after a few moments, my eyes began to get used to this darkness. And then I saw something that shook my soul. In front of me, a huge hall, so big that I couldn't see the end of it. And on the walls of this hall, there were millions of screens. A video was playing on each screen. In each video, someone was sitting in his room. Someone was using a laptop. Someone was watching a video on their phone. And behind each screen, a dark shadow stood. Watchers. My breath caught. This wasn't just an archive. This was a factory for watching people. I slowly got up. The sound of my footsteps echoed in this empty hall. Then suddenly, I heard a voice. A faint voice. Ryan? I turned around immediately. A human was standing in the darkness. At first I didn't believe it, but as soon as he came into the light, my heart pounded. It was Mark. Mark. I screamed. Mark's face looked extremely weak. There were dark shadows under his eyes, as if he hadn't slept in months. You're alive? I asked, gasping. Mark nodded. Alive. He laughed softly. Ryan, no one lives here. A thrill ran through my body. What is this place? I asked. Mark slowly pointed to the screens around him. This is the world of the Watchers. Archive. He spoke slowly. We are all here for the same reason. We saw that file. My eyes fell on one screen. On that screen, I could see my own apartment, the same room, the same laptop, and on the screen, I was sitting there myself. My breath caught. How is this possible? I said. Mark said slowly. Because, Ryan, he turned to me. When a person comes to the archive, they are in two places. I looked at him in confusion. One here, Mark pointed to the floor, and one there, he pointed to the screen. A chill ran through my body. He meant the people who appear in the videos are actually already captured in the archive. Then suddenly, a strange sound echoed in the hall. Tick, 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 like long fingers walking on stone. Fear appeared on Mark's face. They're coming, Mark whispered. Who? I asked. Mark said softly. The originals. At that moment, some tall creatures began to emerge from the darkness of the hall. They were even bigger than the Watchers. Their bodies almost reached the ceiling, and their eyes, like holes in the darkness. Mark grabbed my arm. Ryan, we have to run. But as we turned, one of the creatures extended its long hand towards us, and its voice echoed throughout the hall. The subject has arrived. Then it said softly, begin the final observation. At that moment, all the screens in the hall lit up at once, and on each screen, only one video started playing. Ryan Carter, final recording. The entire hall suddenly lit up. Thousands of screens lit up at once, and each screen was playing only one video. Ryan Carter, final recording. My breath caught. I looked at one screen. It showed my own apartment, the same room, the same desk, the same laptop, and there I was sitting alone. How is this possible? I whispered. My voice was trembling. Mark said softly, Ryan, this is the real secret of the archive. I looked at him. What do you mean? Mark pointed to the screens. After you come here, you are not just a victim. He was silent for a few seconds. Then he said, you become the video yourself. A thrill ran through my body. This place doesn't imprison humans. Mark said, it records humans. I looked at the screens again. Now I could see one thing in each screen. Behind each human stood a watcher. And suddenly I understood a terrible truth. Watchers don't just see us. They copy us. Our voice, our appearance, our movements. And when they're done, they take our place. My hands went cold. Mark, I said softly, if they take our place, then we... Mark looked at me. There was emptiness in his eyes. We become the archive. At that moment, the tall creatures reappeared from the darkness of the hall. The originals. One of them stepped forward. His body was so tall that his head was almost touching the ceiling. He said in a low voice, observation complete. Then he pointed at me. The copy is ready. At that moment, a screen suddenly grew larger, and my apartment began to appear in it. But this time, the person sitting there was not me. It was someone else. Someone who looked exactly like me. My voice, my face, my movements. But his eyes were completely black. My heart stopped. Mark spoke slowly. They have changed you. At that moment, the thing on the screen, which looked like me, slowly leaned towards the camera and smiled. Then he said the words that tore at my soul. Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Carter. Tonight, I want to show you something strange. He pointed to the laptop screen. There was a file on the screen. Last _ recording MP4. He smiled. Just open the file. At that moment, all the watchers inside the archive began to whisper together. More subjects. The same message appeared on all the screens in the hall. New viewers detected. Mark looked at me.
Ryan, I said softly.
Yes? Mark whispered one last time. They're watching them now. And at that moment I realized, this story is not over. Because if you're listening to this, that means you've also opened that file.
The end.